Why is networking important, Joe?
I believe that everything good that happens in your life will happen as a result of a relationship. And you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you're not constantly upgrading your network, you're not going to be upgrading your net worth.
Welcome back to Alignment Academy, a school for your soul to grow and evolve. I am really excited for today's guest, Joe Apfelbaum. Guys, you've heard me talk about Joe in episodes with Ariana. He's our best friend. He is our mentor right now. He has been helping us so much grow our business using LinkedIn, using networking. He is truly a wealth of knowledge, but he actually is an amazing businessman. Like, even though he's my homie, he's an amazing freaking businessman. I've learned so much from him. He's the CEO of Ajax Union, a B2B digital marketing agency. He's also a business strategist, a marketing expert, AI consultant, and certified Google trainer. He's the author of 5 books, and his latest one is called High Energy Marketing. He is really, really just an amazing human. He's super tapped in, spiritual, and also very grounded in action and taking matters into your own hands and like just doing the thing. So I'm really excited for this conversation. We talk about communication, networking, the art of rejection. We talked about the importance of using LinkedIn to grow your business. We talk about the importance of networking, in-person relationships to increase your income, and we laugh a lot. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear this episode. Without further ado, Joe, welcome to Alignment Academy.
Thank you for having me on the program. I'm so excited to be here, Kristen.
I'm so excited. Obviously, the audience knows that me and Ari have a best friend that we made at Summit named Joe. And I was just like, honestly, Joe, I feel like me and you just need to have a conversation because you and I can nerd out about networking and communication, and you're a master networker. Don't you have a book?
I do. I have a book called High Energy Networking available on Amazon. And I remember our first conversation after we went for this long walk that was supposed to be 5 minutes that lasted like 5 hours. Never finished. And then we walked into this networking event and you're like, what is going on here? And we're having conversations about eye contact and body language and all types of jazz. Do you remember that?
I remember that. And I was like, this needs to be a podcast. Like, this is so good. Do you remember?
Yeah. And we decided, you know what? We're going to make a podcast one of these days, and we're going to talk about the things that 90% of people are afraid of, because Jerry Seinfeld says the following: people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy at a funeral, which I think is hilarious, that people
Oh,
would rather be
wow.
dead than putting themselves out there, because feeling ashamed is a form of dying. It's a form of like your ego dying, because your face turns red. It's like you're spilling blood. It's like you're dying because
Hmm.
you're so ashamed. You'd rather be like dead. That's the idea. And networking is a form of public speaking. Think about it. You go to somebody that's a stranger. You don't know them well at all. You don't know them at all. And there are other people listening as well. And you're having all that anxiety. That is a big deal.
Totally. And to be completely honest, I feel like you changed my life after Summit because, okay, I'm not someone with social anxiety. I'm okay with talking to people. Meeting you and seeing how you network, seeing how you go up to people, it took it to a whole new level for me. And since Summit, I've been really passionate and trying to be more put myself out there more, get rejected more, because what I realized from and we're going to get into it, but what I realized from how you network is that if you are not scared of rejection, if you are able to have a conversation with literally anybody, you are going to have more love in your life. You're going to have more dates. You're going to have more job opportunities. You're going to have more clients. You're going to have more friends. Like, I'm like, wow, I feel like this is changing my life of not being scared to go up to people.
Yeah, I was literally having a conversation with someone who was 25 years old. He interviewed me for his podcast, and we're having this conversation. And he's like, what's the number one skill people need to have? I said, personal development should be on the top of your list. And I said, if I put you in a grocery store and there were 100 people in the store, and I said, I want you to go and get me 10 phone numbers of people in the store, would you do it, or would you have a total heart attack? He's like, I'd have a total heart attack. He's like, there's no way I can get phone numbers. I said, well, can you get 10 first names? of people that are potential clients at the most expensive grocery store in Los Angeles. You know that really expensive one that starts
Erewhon,
with
I went 2 days ago. I went 2 days ago with
Did you buy
Ari.
a $5,000 smoothie?
I did buy like a little salad and it was like $14 and it was like the little container. I was like, oh, that hurt, but it was so good. It was worth it.
It was so good and it was worth it. But if you walk in there, the people there are typically going to be high net worth individuals or famous people or something. So can you get 10 first names of people that are just lingering around there? Or would you be frightened and scared and would you not know what to say? And if the answer is you'd be frightened and scared and not know what to say, you can do more personal development to find yourself, to realize that it's actually a skill that we've never learned. The skill that we've learned is don't speak to strangers. The skill that we learned is you're going to get killed if you speak to a stranger. Meanwhile, when you were born, your parents were basically strangers. For some people, they're still strangers.
It's so true. And honestly, before I met you, if you had asked me, okay, like if you went into this thing and that same question, I would have said no. And now, it's been 2 weeks in Summit, maybe three, and I've practiced so much going up to state strangers, starting conversations. I feel like I could do that no problem. And it literally is a skill. And it also has to do, I think, with so much like unconscious self-worth because I don't look at the rejection as me being rejected anymore. I kind of just look at it as a reflection of their internal state versus like, I'm unworthy, I'm ugly, they don't like me, because it's never really about you.
It's not about you. And I take this as a rule. This is one of my rules for myself. You call it a code, I call it a rule. This is one of my rules. This is one of my rules. I am not responsible for other people's states. If I enter your bubble and you're in a state that is disempowering, there's no good and bad in this world. There's just empowering and disempowering. If I enter your world and you're in a disempowering state, you're depressed, you're angry, you're sad, whatever it is, you're on the bottom of the scale, not high energy. Everything I do, I try to strive for high vibrations, joy, gratitude, excitement. I want to be like a flame. I don't want to be like earth. Like I don't want to be like stuck under the grass. I want to be floating on top of the grass. I want to be on fire. I want to be on. I want to be alive. I'm a water sign, but I want to be the water that's in the fire, that's bubbling, that's sizzling, that's alive, that people are breathing in, they're taking it in. That's the energy that I want to have. And if I enter your energy and your energy is very low vibration, that's not my fault. And I'm not taking responsibility for having to shift that or feeling like I'm the reason why your vibration's low. If I enter your life and you're not happy because you're not happy. I'm not here to make you happy. I had to learn that through getting divorced. I can't make you happy. I can try to make you happy, but if I'm always responsible for your happiness and you want me to change for you to be happy, the relationship needs to end because that's dysfunction. There's no integrity there. You
Totally.
both need to show up happy, and if you could both show up happy, you'll have vibrations that are happy together. But if one person's always sad and the other person's always happy, there's going to be a disconnect and a lack of integrity in the relationship.
One thing about you, though, Joe, is that when I first met you, I literally said to Ariana, I was like, that part of your brain that like stops you from doing things that like might be embarrassing or you might get rejected. I was like, Joe doesn't have that. So I kind of want to actually go back to, I've never asked you about this, but I want to go back. Have you always been like this? Like as a child, have you always been outgoing? Have you always been not scared of rejection? Like what was your journey with that?
When I was in third grade, and my daughter just graduated third grade, my youngest just graduated third grade. So she's like, came over to me yesterday and she's like, Dad, I'm no longer going to be wearing one of those jumpers. Now I'm going to be wearing a skirt and a shirt. And I'm like, wow, I'm so proud of you. And I was thinking to myself, there's a certain level of innocence that you kind of like lose from third grade to fourth grade. And I remember the moment that I lost my innocence is when my teacher asked me to get up and read. And I, like my kids, have a really hard time reading. She got A's across everything in school except for reading. She got like below satisfactory. She has an issue with reading. We have an issue in the family with being able to read well. And so I got up to read and I was saying the words wrong. Sometimes I would say the first word before the second word, or I would just pronounce them wrong, and all the kids were laughing. Now, I wasn't intending on making them laugh because I wasn't a class clown yet. I had to build that after to get respect. But everyone was laughing. And the teacher got really upset because he thought I was purposely making everybody laugh by reading inappropriately. So he called me an idiot. He told me to sit down, and he even threw a tennis ball at me.
Wow.
And I remember, and he basically said to me, and I don't know if he actually used these words, but he says, you should never read again. You're just an idiot and you don't know how to read. So that's kind of like the message that I received in my third grade self, like my little kid self. I
Inner
sat down,
child.
I was embarrassed. I was a child, and in my head, I kind of like registered that as like, you're an idiot. And for the next, I would say 35 years or so, I didn't even know I had that playing in my head that you're an idiot, you're an idiot, you're an idiot, you're an idiot. But part of me also wanted to prove to the world that I wasn't an idiot, so I studied very hard. I became the valedictorian, which means I was the smartest kid in the class, but also I got kicked out because I was always the class clown. That means I would pick up everything right away. The teacher would love me. I would actually sit in front by the teacher, but once I got everything, I didn't let the teacher keep teaching. I would then do spitballs, and I would do all types of stuff to just like basically create chaos in the classroom without creating chaos in the classroom. So I would usually get kicked out. They were like, you'd learn it, then you get kicked out. And I would kind of always had that thing where I would always try to like make a joke, make a face, say something. Like the teacher would say something, I would repeat it in a different way, and the entire class would erupt in laughter. And I got really, really good. I don't know if you noticed this, but even like at Summit, I would be in a crowd of maybe 200 people, and I'll ask a question and everybody starts laughing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that. It
I
happened
did.
multiple times, and it keeps happening all the time. And it's not like I'm doing it intentionally, but I do have a program still running where it's easy for me to make a room laugh. That's why I'm good at stand-up and improv and so on. It's easy for me to do that. It's just my natural thing that I do without even thinking about it. And it's because of this thing that I got, this gift that I got where I suffered in the moment. I almost like died in that moment of shame, but then something was born inside me that I would do that. But in terms of like, I still carried the shame of I'm an idiot. And so I had a very difficult time getting up in front of crowds, speaking in front of people. And then in my business in 2013, around between 2011 and 2013, Google sent me an email after a rabbi gave me a blessing. He said, you should inspire tens of thousands of people. And I laughed and I was like, oh my God, really? And Google sent me an email after that. And they said, would you like to become a certified Google trainer? And I replied, if you're going to put me in front of business owners, it's a yes. But I didn't know it meant I would have to do seminars in front of them. I thought I would just be called a trainer. I'd make some courses or whatever. Like, what's the big deal? Meanwhile, they said they were going to send dozens and dozens and dozens of business owners, and they wanted me to rent a room. I went to Madison Square Garden to rent a room, and they said it wasn't available. And plus, they weren't able to fill 27,000 seats or whatever. So instead, I opted for the Hilton in Manhattan, 80 people. It was they filled up the room with 80 people. When I got up on stage, I started to freak out. I told my business partner, hey, I'm freaking out. Maybe you do it. He's like, no problem. Let's refund everyone. It's only $80 a head. I was like, no, we're not refunding everybody. And I ended up just doing it. And I ended up hiring coaches. And that's why I now believe in the power of coaches, because the coaches that I've hired have changed my life. So getting someone to coach you on your frequency, on your game is such an important thing. And because of the coaches and the courses that I've taken and the books that I've read, I've been able to completely change. So now when you see me on stage commanding a room of 1,000 or 10,000 people, people see me as like unrecognizable between what they see now, even the way that I'm speaking on this podcast, between what they see now and the way I did my first podcast over a decade ago.
So it's definitely wasn't what you're saying is it wasn't always just innate. This is a skill that you built.
I was shy. I was scared. I never had the right words to say. I would say I would say basically every other word. I would not show up with confidence. I was not having my higher self speak. I was having my lower self speak, and I was afraid of the opinions of other people. And now I just trust myself that the next word is going to be a powerful sentence that is going to inspire me. And I'm not trying to inspire anyone outside of me. I want to be able to listen to this podcast after and say, damn, son, I love this guy. I love what he has to say. I love me, because I want to show up with the best self that adds the most value to the future me that's going to be listening to this.
What healing work did you do? Because it sounds like you're super self-aware of your traumas that you've had and you've done a lot of personal development work. Like what was the thing that really shifted it for you?
I think it wasn't one thing that shifted it for me. It was a combination of the different things that have happened to me, the experiences. It's a combination of like the experience that happens and then how you process it over time. I'll give you an example. When I started my business partner was my best friend. Eventually, he decided he didn't want to be in the business. So we kind of had a little bit of a breakup. We didn't have a fight or anything, but I felt like my best friend, like I felt almost worse than my divorce. Like I felt like, because in my divorce, I knew she didn't like me. You know what I mean? So like it worked out, but we liked each other so much. And he's the guy that I was like tight with. He knew everything about me. I knew everything about him. We knew things that our spouses didn't know about each other, right? Sometimes we spent 15, 16 hours a day just together in a room, grinding it from zero to a few $1 million a year in annual reoccurring revenue. Like we were just like in it together.
Mm.
And he decided that he no longer was able to do the business with me. And he just was like, I'm done. He's going to go do rehab centers. He had other passions and he moved on. And I was like, how are we ever going to do it? How am I ever going to do it? And I thought to myself, I'm never going to be able to make it. If you leave, we're done. But I had to process that. That was very, very painful for me. I had to process buying out my investor. At one point, he wanted to bring in an investor, so he brought in an investor. When he left, the investor stayed, and me and the investor didn't really get along because it was his investor and his
Mm.
relationship. So now I had to deal with buying the investor, which took me a few years. So I had to deal with all that. So I had to process all that. Then I had to deal with religion, and I had to deal with my divorce, and I had to deal with so many different. I was 100 pounds when I became a certified Google trainer. I was 100 pounds heavier than I am today. So I had to lose
Mm.
that weight as well. So I was smoking. I was I was not exercising at all. I wouldn't run anywhere, forget about walk. The only place I would walk to is the fridge. So like if you think if you think about it, I was kind of like in that world where complete like very, very little awareness in terms of myself, very into ego, and I had to like do a combination of therapy because I thought all therapists were like losers and crazy. Like that I had that thought. I was like, "Oh, you're a therapist? You must be completely out of your cotton pit mind. You're just completely like crazy. You're a crazy person, and crazy people need crazy people to help them." That was like my belief that I had. That literally was the belief. So when I would walk in, I would sit down, and the guy's like, "Okay," and he would ask me a question. I was like, "How does my answer make you feel?" And he's like, "What are we doing here?" I was like, "What do you mean? What are we doing? I have a question for you. You asked me a question. It's my turn to ask you a question." He's like, "Well, this is not working. This is not going to work." And so they basically would kick me out of therapy because they were like, "You're not taking this seriously." I was like, "I'm taking it very seriously. You asked me how it makes me feel. I think that's a shitty question to ask someone, a cop out question. I'm going to ask you the same cop out question. How did my answer make you feel?" And he's like, "That's it. We're done." I was like, "This is what happens when I use insurance to get a therapist." I get
Okay, so what else did you do, Joe?
anyway, long answer, but I did Landmark several times. Landmark Education was a really good program. Watching 160 plus people getting coached is a powerful experience. I joined an EO Forum. Entrepreneurs Organization is an organization for CEOs that are over a million in revenue. And I feel like when you're together in a peer with a peer of CEOs that are like a dozen CEOs that are in a room and everyone in a confidential setting is able to be raw and just share everything about their life and everything that's going on. And nobody's giving each other advice, but they're just sharing experiences of how they dealt with things in the past is a very, very raw way of doing therapy. And then, getting coached one on one with some of the top coaches in the world and doing Tony Robbins and reading 300 personal development books and listening to podcasts and going to seminars and just a decade of me just like searching and searching and also me doing my own podcasts and me writing 5 books by hand and me journaling for years, just doing the work. And then, of course, plant medicine was helpful, but only after I did all that work and there were things that I
Hmm.
just couldn't get past. Plant medicine was able to kind of help me get past that part. And at one point, I basically said, you know what? I died. I'm dead. I retired. I'm finished. And now I'm reborn. And I'm in the now with no past because the past doesn't equal the future. The past is made up stories. And right now, I am reborn. I'm new. I'm fresh. And you know what? It feels nice to wake up every day knowing that anything is possible.
Hmm. You are one of the most optimistic people I know. Truly. Like whenever I'm in my little negative Nancy, you always bring me back. You have everything you need in the present moment. You have it right now. You just like are very, very optimistic.
Thank you. Thank you. And you know what? That is programming. Everything we experience is programming. We think
Programming.
it's not programming, but we think is programming. Literally, we think that's programming. So you could
Hmm.
lie to yourself and tell yourself life is shitty, or you could lie to yourself and tell yourself life is amazing. Either way, it's a lie. Pick a smart lie, pick a better lie, because the truth hides within all the lies.
Hmm. Can you unpack that a little more? What the truth hides within
Between
all.
all the lies. So if you take all the lies, okay, so she said the light was red. He said the light was green. The other person said it was yellow, it was broken. And the other person said the light was completely off. You take all the truths that each person have, which basically are all lies, because if you have two people saying the same thing, they're both lying. They got to be both lying because this guy's like, no, that's the truth. And this was, that's the truth. The truth is when you put all the lies together and you can see them all at the same time,
Mm.
that level of being able to see all the perspectives, that's where the truth is when they all come together. But most people, they can't handle the truth. They can't handle the truth, which is two things that are oxymorons existing at the same time. That's the quantum truth. Because wherever you look, that's where the truth is.
Well, that's what God is. God is the both and. And so sometimes when people are so gung ho on this is right and that's right, I'm like, if you actually understood source consciousness, if you actually understood what this reality is, it's the both and. It's all of it, all at once. Like that's why when they say, like, God, everywhere all at once, it's like, yes, it's both. It's here and there.
And the other part of the code is that there is no truth because there is no right and wrong. If there is
Yeah,
no
it's
lie, there is
both.
no truth.
It's both of
Meaning
them.
meaning it's not about the truth. It's about just being. In the world of being, there is no right or wrong. There is no true or false. There's just being. It's like when you just exist with a flower and a bird and you're just in the wind. It's like, is that the truth? What the hell? What does it have to do with anything? I'm here enjoying the sunset. Why are you asking me about the truth? But is it the truth? That's you analyzing shit. Stop
Mhm.
analyzing and start enjoying and start being and start just feeling and just start existing. You're a human being, not a human truth seeker.
Well, I think that's overthinking too, right? Like I had a couple clients the other day ask me like, "Well, what if I fail?" And I'm like, "What even is failure?" Like you only fail if you stop going forward. Like you just be where you are and you can't fail because even when you think that should unfold this way, well, life is infinite possibilities. So the way that you think it's going to go is not how it's going to go because just that doesn't really make sense. Like logically, like you're not going to think of the potential in the infinite field of potentials. Infinite. What does that mean? It means you can't even think of all the potentials, right? And so people I think are too caught up on over the overthinking part of everything of like overthinking, are they going to like me, am I going to fail, am I going to do this, am I going to do that? And it's like really to your point, the only thing that you need to do is really be here right now and take the next step to what you think that you should want or what you think you want or what you think you should do.
And you know what? That reminds me of a saying that I think about often. There is no losing in life. There's only winning or learning.
Mm.
There is no losing in life. There's only winning or learning. And if you're feeling stressed about a situation, it's probably because you don't believe you're winning, but you haven't learned something from it yet.
That's so good. Truly. And I don't really I think people don't understand how much of entrepreneurship is mindset. I've been able to observe a lot of entrepreneurs. I've been able to observe my friends. I've been able to observe my friends that are doing big things. And one thing that I really have observed is that when people have a lot of limiting beliefs, when people are not really sure that they're going to win in life, they handle a setback, they see a setback, they experience a setback, and they all automatically almost just like let it kind of keep them where they are. They're just
Mm.
like Now I'm here and like they overthink it and they feel like a failure and poor me. When I observe someone who is a winner and they have a setback, they are automatically in problem solving mode. They're automatically trying to think and trying to be like, well, what's next? How can I do it next? What else do I need to do in order to make this work? And I think that that is really the mindset of an entrepreneur is always figuring it out and always trying to solve the next problem versus staying in the problem.
And I think that people don't realize this also, that when you solve one problem, the next problem is usually going to be a bigger problem.
Yes. Life is just a bunch of problems. I realized a long time ago, honestly, it was on a mushroom trip. I was sitting there and I was like asking God. I was asking God, I've never shared this before. I was like, when is this going to be over? Give me a date. Like, I was in the worst breakup of my entire life. I was so sad. I was just doing everything I could to heal. And I literally said, when is this going to be over? And God, source consciousness, literally said right back to me, I don't know why you're in such a rush because as soon as this is over, you're going to have another problem. Life is just all these problems. And the more you can just be present and be happy within yourself, you are going to win life. And I was like, because I was like, oh my God, life is just problem after problem after problem. It's situation after situation after situation. And the real flex is inner peace. If you can just be good through it all, you're good. But if you're just going to get set back and torn down with every problem, like that is what conditionality is. You're going to always be at the like at the feet of all the conditions in your life being perfect, and conditions are never perfect.
Conditions are never perfect because perfection is actually something that is made up in our mind to try to make us feel comfortable. And if you go to nature and you feel perfect, it's because nature is chaos. Like if you go to nature, it's chaotic. There's trees everywhere, there's leaves everywhere, there's bugs, there's animals eating other animals, there's like just complete and total what seems to be chaos. But it's an ecosystem that works really, really well because of how it just works. So like if you're trying
Organized
to
chaos.
if you're exactly, but if you're trying to make everything perfect, if you want just the goodness, if you want just the pleasure, then like they say that people that are seeking pleasure, their life gets shortened because if you're always like eating sugar, you're going to glycate to death, because you're
Mm.
just seeking that pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. Or if you're always seeking sex, you're going to just orgasm to death. Like you're basically just getting closer and closer to death. And sometimes you need a fast, and sometimes you need to be celibate, and sometimes you need to recharge your energy and you need to sleep instead of just constantly seeking pleasure to feel more and more and more and more, and then you
Mhm.
explode. So taking a break and taking a breath and realizing that taking time to integrate the things that have happened for you, because nothing in life happens to you, everything happens for you. That's truly my belief. Thinking about the incidents, the experiences that you've had, and allowing yourself to let it marinate and let it integrate so you can learn your soul lessons. That's such a powerful thing. And often we're so busy with other people that we don't even have time to just sit down and chew our food. We're
Mm.
so busy with other people. The other day I sat by myself at a Mediterranean restaurant and I was just like, I just wanted some hummus. They didn't. They didn't have hummus. But you know what? I still went there. I still went there and I enjoyed myself thoroughly and I was
Did
there
you
by
get a
myself.
falafel?
They didn't have falafel either. It was
What
very
Mediterranean
sad.
restaurant did you go to? Didn't you
One
live
that
in New
had no
York
falafel,
City?
one that had no falafel and no hummus. But you know what? I had peace. I had peace. I sat there and I enjoyed the vibe. I enjoyed watching the people. I wasn't even on my phone. My phone was at like 5%. I wasn't at my phone. I was just relaxing, enjoying the vibe, and just celebrating the fact that I can be alone, but not be lonely.
They're different. Being alone and being lonely are very, very different because you can be lonely in a group of people and you can be alone and you can be so at peace.
But right when I got divorced, that wasn't the case. I was just like seeking partnership. I was seeking people around me. I was seeking friends. I was seeking alcohol, something to get my mind off this, alcohol, marijuana, whatever it was. Just I can't, it feels so terrible not to be with my kids and not to be with someone and not to be around people. And I just realized, you know what? I did all the work for the longest time to be able to integrate. So I hired an energy coach, I hired a breakup coach, and I started journaling and integrating. And then I realized, you know what? This is great. I have the opportunity to be with self and to get comfortable with self. And I started doing things on my own. And now I really appreciate my company. I still love being around other people, don't get me wrong. But when I do things by myself, I'm not judging myself for it. I don't think, oh, you're such a loser. You went to a restaurant yourself. No, I'm such a winner. I get to go to a restaurant myself and not feel like a loser.
Yeah, I love that. I want to talk a little bit about networking. I'm going to make a quick assumption about you if you listen to Alignment Academy, the podcast, that ever since you were little, you just had this deep feeling that you were meant for big things in this world. You weren't here to be ordinary, but you were here to be a mover and a shaker. Hi, I'm Kristen, and same. Except for years, I was self-sabotaging because even though I felt in my soul that I was here to do extremely big things, I could not stop procrastinating, self-sabotaging, feeling massive amounts of imposter syndrome, and don't forget getting triggered as fuck every single day of my life. And honestly, I didn't know what to do. And then I found inner work. I found energy healing. I found all of the modalities that I still use today. The spiritual tools that I use feel like I found a hack to this universe. Like, the rules don't apply to me because I know how to shift my vibration. I know how to reprogram my subconscious mind. I know how to give myself any beliefs that I want to believe about the world, like money comes easy to me and the rules don't apply to me and I don't need a real job. These are all just beliefs that I believe about myself. If you're similar to me, you know you have a big mission, but you know it's also time to get out of your own way and heal your blocks for good so you can actually just take action on your mission. This is why I created Alignment Academy, the membership. Inside this membership, you are going to get everything from live coaching sessions with me monthly, all of my best-selling heart work meditations and hypnosises. You're going to get all of my energy healing activations to do energy work on yourself anytime you want. Not to mention, as soon as you enroll, you get a library of 9 past masterclasses and 8 on-demand meditations. But the very best part is the people in the community. This is some of the most heart-centered, amazing humans I've ever come in contact with. Honestly, people have made friends in this group. They've met up in person in this group. It's the place to be. This is seriously the only space on the internet that weaves quantum manifestation, inner work, and business to help you quantum leap in your soul's growth and your business growth. If you're serious about healing, getting out of your own way, and taking massive action this year, then join with the link below. See you inside. I know we've been talking a little bit about networking, but I really want to get into like the power of networking. You know, you have a book on networking. Before Summit, I networked, but not really with the follow-up and really learning the network. You taught me so much about networking. Why is networking important, Joe?
I believe that everything good that happens in your life will happen as a result of a relationship. And you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you're not constantly upgrading your network, you're not going to be upgrading your net worth. That's why 80% of people are stuck at paycheck to paycheck or below paycheck to paycheck. They don't even have $1,000 in their bank account. Why? It's because they're hanging around with other people that don't have $1,000 in their bank account. I want to find a person that has $100 million in cash, and I want to hug him and rub his DNA all over my body. Why? Because that's the type of people I want around me. They're doing something. They made it from nothing to $1 billion. I want to be around that energy. A guy that has a $22 billion market cap, I want to just lick that like a lollipop. I want you to think about that for just a moment. If somebody has the energy and the vibration and the aura to be able to make hundreds of millions of dollars, don't you want to be in that space? Don't you want to be in that energy? But that energy doesn't just come. What you need to do is manifest that energy and ask for it and make introductions for other people and want to be in those circles. I remember when I started my business, I deeply, deeply desired to be around CEOs. But I wasn't around CEOs. I was around my employees. And my clients that I had were not necessarily CEOs. They were like small business owners. And I deeply desired CEOs. So I searched CEO networking and I went to the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce. And that was a terrible experience because there were life insurance brokers there and the CEOs were not there. And so I just walked around and I handed my business card to everyone and ran away and knew I was doing all the wrong things doing that. That was not the way to network. And so I finally joined a group called Vistage. 20,000 CEOs, all over 5 million in revenue, and I sat there in a room with them for an entire day. And I'm going to talk at Vistage in Connecticut on Wednesday and on Thursday. I'm speaking for 2 Vistage groups. And I started seeing that these people operate completely different. They think completely different. They behave differently. Everything is a little slower. Imagine spending a whole day out of your office, sitting around and talking about problems in your business and learning and growing together and working issues out. I'm like, a whole day? That's a lifetime. That's tens of thousands of dollars of my energy and time I'm spending on what? On strategy? And then I realized that these people, they're not valuing time like I'm valuing time. They're not thinking of time in the aspect of like, oh, it's costing me an hourly rate. No, they're connecting deeply. And so I also joined another organization called Entrepreneurs Organization. And then I joined the Inc. 500 Business Owners Council. My company was featured number 178 on the Inc. 500 as one of the fastest growing companies in America. And so I kind of started surrounding myself. And before I know it, a few years went by and all my friends were now CEOs. And I was like, I upgraded my network and I also upgraded my net worth. Now I own multiple properties and blah, 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 blah. And I'm an investor in multiple companies. But it's because of the people around me are doing that. Because the people around me are running Ironman. Because the people around me are pushing themselves to the next level. These are the people that are lifting me up by me being in that circle. And so networking provides me with that. You don't get into a place like Summit without a network. You are introduced to it by someone in your network. I was introduced to it by somebody in my network. You don't enter that portal if somebody else doesn't walk you in, and that's the key to walking in. I used to have clients that would pay me $599 a month. I can cold call and get that type of client. You know what type of client I can't cold call to get? A client that pays me $45,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's the type of client I can't cold call to get into. But I could have a breakfast, and I wrote about this in my book, High Energy Networking. I could have the breakfast with the president of the New York chapter of Entrepreneurs Organization in Brooklyn. I could bring him down, have breakfast with him, do something so good for him that it melts his heart, give him the list of the 500 top hospitals in New Jersey with all the decision makers and all their email addresses and cell phone numbers for nothing, for free, for just here you go, my friend. Anything else, let me know what you need. I'm happy to help. And then he turns around, he's like, what do you need? And I'm ready. I know what I'm looking for. And I say, I'm looking to meet a sales director at a company that's over $100 million in revenue, blah, 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 blah. And then he turns around 2 weeks later. He's like, by the way, a friend of mine is looking for a marketing agency. He's at a $400 million firm. Do you want to meet with him? You'll be doing me a favor if you meet him. So I went down, met with him, and that company started spending $45,000 a month. And he's like, if this guy introduced you, no vetting needed. I'm not calling your clients. I trust you implicitly. Wow. Just like that. I'm in the door. And that completely changed my life because now, all of a sudden, I'm adding millions of dollars in new reoccurring revenue to my business. And this is not ad spend. This is agency work. This is not like a lot of people are like, oh, how much was ad spend? No, it wasn't ad spend. It was literally just for the agency strategy and execution. Wow. On top of that, there was ad spend. And then another law firm came from a recommendation. By the way, this came from my investor, which was no longer my investor, but my investor introduced me to somebody, $1 billion law firm and one law firm technology software. One of them was spending $25,000 a month, and the other one was spending $30,000 a month. Another referral. Boom.
So what Joe is trying to say is that in the game of money, in the game of business, all of these connections that are going to change your life are going to become from in person. They're not going to come from like online.
But not just business. Listen, I have 5 kids. I would not have 5 kids today if it wasn't for a relationship.
Yeah.
Some people have 5 kids, they don't even know where their kids are. But I actually know who my kids are, and I know where they came from, and I know exactly. I had it with one woman, and these 5 kids I love very, very much. I see them multiple times per week. And
shout out to Joe's kids.
And I go deep with them, and I know each one of them individually. I know their star signs and what they're into and their favorite foods and who their best friends are. And I literally speak to them every day and connect with them, so much so that they write me letters telling me how I'm the best dad they've ever had. And I was like, thank you for that.
Ever had.
I'm the best dad you've ever had. But I know so many people that have terrible relationships with their fathers. I know so many people that haven't spoken to their dad in 20 years. And I know dads that haven't spoken to their kids in 20 years. And everybody's sitting there justifying it when all we need is love. All we need is deep connections, deep hugs, and less judgment and more connection.
So I want to go back to the networking. I totally agree. And there's so much here because, okay, I want to share a situation I had with you guys because it really is gonna put things into perspective. And Joe always did tell me when we were at Summit, he's like, you need to rub shoulders, you need to rub auras with the rich people. Like that's how you get rich.
Oh,
Is
I literally said skin to skin contact, please. Like shake hands, like literally hug, kiss,
he was like,
get in
do
it.
whatever you can. I'm like, okay, Joe, let's calm down.
No, but seriously, I really believe that there's energy in our
Well, think
atoms.
about
Like,
it. It's like your electromagnetic field is 6 meters outside of you. So actually being in the field of rich people, it really does up level you in ways that you can't describe. And I swear to God, when I hit my first like 30K month, my two best friends had already done that. And I swear to God, it was only because I was around them. It like normalized money for me. And I was just telling Ari a couple days ago, like, oh, I'm trying to up level again. Like, I need to be in these people's frequencies. Like, I need to understand how, because you understand, you understand, you observe how they think, how they act, how they talk about themselves, how they talk about money, how they spend money. Like, rich people spend money way differently than poor people. And then really rich people spend money way differently than rich people. You know what I mean? So you really have to like study them and you get to experience that frequency and attune yourself to it, right? Like the law of entrainment. When two vibrations are with each other, the lower one's going to entrain to the higher one. So,
and even if people don't believe in all this stuff and all the spiritual stuff, just look at the physical.
well,
Look
the
at the
law of
way that you
entrainment is
interact with
your,
it.
yeah, go
Right,
ahead.
but I'm just saying, but even if you don't want to rely on spirituality and you just want to say, okay, let's talk about physicality. If you talk to a plant and you're positive to the plant will automatically take that and become healthier. Look into it. If you talk to water and you bless the water and then freeze the water, you're going to see something very different in the water than if you curse the water and then you freeze the water. The words that you use and the thoughts that you have can physically impact your cells. We're mostly water anyway. So
Yeah.
think about the people around you. Everybody is pulsing and vibrating, and you want to be around those vibrations that will lift you to the level that's higher. And I truly believe that the more spiritual your vibrations, the more money you can attract, the more everything you can attract, but you end up attracting also money and love and everything that's good in your life. You're attracting when you're increasing your frequency and you're getting to a higher energy, a higher
Because you can hold
vibration, a higher
more.
level. You're capable of handling more and you're also attracting more with your positive insight, and you're taking more risk also. Like if you're the type of person that doesn't want to make investments, how are you supposed to get a return? If you're not willing to invest in Bitcoin, how are you going to get a return? If you're not willing to invest in real estate, if you're not willing to invest in stocks, if you're not willing to invest your heart into building a relationship with someone, you're going to find someone who's avoidant, is not either willing to invest their heart into it, and you're going to have two people that hate each other, and that's why 50% of people get divorced. Because we are vibrating at a low frequency. But if you can really put your heart out there and risk breaking your heart, you're going to find somebody that can really mend your heart instead of break it. Because if you want to really, really connect, you got to put yourself out there.
Totally. And honestly, even with the in-person thing, I think it's so important. And I host retreats. Everyone knows I host retreats. The reason I host retreats is because my best relationships have all come from me attending a retreat. Like genuinely. My best friend Bree, we met on a retreat. My mentor, Daniela, I went on her retreat. A lot of my friends, my guy friends, are from a Joe Dispenza retreat. You, who is such a key player in my life and teaching me so much about business and mentoring me on how to grow my business, met you at Summit. And so people are so slow to invest their money, their time, their energy. And it's actually the thing that's going to give them the most in return. And I had a conversation with Joe a couple days ago because I got an opportunity to go on a trip with somebody that I really aspire to be like. And, it was a lot of money, it was a lot of time, it was actually very inconvenient for me to go. And I told him, and Joe, what did you say to me? You were like, you got to go. Figure it out. You
Yeah.
got to go.
Make it happen. Make it happen. And I said, what's stopping you? What's stressing you out about it? Is this the wrong thing? And then you're like, no, this is the right thing. My gut's telling me this is the right thing. So there were other things around it that needed to be canceled. You had to say no to other things in order to make this a hell yes. Because before this was a kind of yes, because you had so much stress around all the things that were around it. So sometimes if the orange is not so sweet, take off the peel.
Yeah.
Make it more appealing.
Yeah, no, literally. That was a good one. But literally, it's like, investing in relationships, investing time in events that are going to pay you back. Sometimes it's not that it pays you back right then. It's like a person introduces you to another person who puts you on a podcast, who blows up your business. Like you just never
It's a
know.
conduit. It's a conduit.
Yeah.
The more you give, the more you get. Sometimes it's also not about paying, but it's about giving of your time, of your energy, of your effort. You have to sacrifice something in order to get something else. If you want fire, you're often going to have to sacrifice wood, or in Brooklyn, cardboard. You have to sacrifice something to get something else out of it. So what are you going to say no to in order to get a bunch of hell yeses? Because
Yeah.
if you're saying yes to everything, you're going to say no to something. But at
Totally.
the end of the day, what I tell people is people that pay attention. That's why I tell people pay for LinkedIn. Invest in LinkedIn. There's 1.2 billion people on LinkedIn, and most people that are of the younger generation, people that are in their 20s, they're not on there yet. And it's a competitive advantage to get on where all the millionaires are. There's 22 million millionaires in the United States. Most of them are on LinkedIn. You might say, well, but LinkedIn is boring or LinkedIn is nerdy. So what? Wealth can sometimes be boring. Wealth can sometimes be nerdy. Get there. Build those relationships early when you don't need them. The best time to get a loan is when you don't need the loan. Because when you need it, you don't have it. The best time to build a relationship is way before you need the relationship. When you
Yeah.
don't need anything and you're just going to connect and get to know the person. So start building your personal network of 150, 200, 300 people and start seeing how that helps you be able to achieve your goals. And then if you take action, you're going to start getting results because action creates results. Results don't just come from you sitting around and hoping for the best. Hope is a great thing, but action creates results.
So let's get into LinkedIn. So EviAI is a LinkedIn engagement platform. Is that right?
EviAI is an AI assistant that helps people be able to use things like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram more effectively.
Okay.
Why? Because everyone needs more exposure, they need more credibility, and you need more meetings. And in order to achieve that, using technology to help you out, an artificial intelligence technology could be really, really helpful. We have 20,000 users in 37 countries around the world, and we are assisting people to be able to, if you need to write a post, post is written. You need a comment on a post, comment is written. You need a DM, you're not sure what to say, boom, the AI will write it for you in just seconds. You want to research anybody, you see Kristen and you're like, ooh, what's she about? What type of conversation starters can I have when I hop on the phone with her? Boom, it just pops up. It tells you who she works with, her conversation starters, what podcast she's recently been on. It researches all her articles, tells you her themes. It tells you her personality, Myers-Briggs, Discus acid. Literally everything you want to know about this person, it'll find it, including her contact information.
Wow. Okay. And so, if you're enjoying this episode, then I have a quick offer for you. I would love to gift you my free meditation, Release Anxiety and Trust the Universe. And this meditation has been so pivotal for me when I was going through my rock bottom or when I'm going through a moment of uncertainty in my life. And I would love for you to try this meditation out absolutely free. All you have to do is rate the podcast 5 stars, go follow my podcast Instagram page at Alignment Academy Pod on Instagram, and then send me a screenshot of your 5-star rating or review, and I will send you the meditation, no strings attached. I can't wait for you to try it out. And now back to the episode. One thing that me and you have been talking about is as soon as we met and like we were just talking about my business, you're like, why aren't you on LinkedIn? And I was like, I haven't been on LinkedIn in 5 years. Like, what do you mean? And you were like, you are missing out on a ton of money. You are missing out on a ton of opportunity. And so, even for, I have a lot of coaches in my audience, I have a lot of entrepreneurs. Why do we need to get on LinkedIn and how should we be using it to leverage it for making more money in our business?
If I go to your Instagram profile or anybody else's Instagram profile, most of the time I'll see a screen name. It's not always going to be their first and last name. In your case, it is your first name and last name is clearly there. But many people, they don't have their first and last name on Instagram. They're kind of hiding it. They have a private account. They have no contact information, and you have no idea who they are. It's like Big Betty 2473. That's all. That's all I see. I see someone shaking booty there. Like, what's going on? But if you go to LinkedIn, this is what you get. You get first name, last name, company name, where they worked before, where they went to school, their skills, their recommendations, your mutual connections with them, their email, their cell phone number, when they were born. What? Everything. You have everything about the person that you need in order for you to build rapport. So if you connect with someone and build a relationship with them, you have so many entry points for you to have a meaningful relationship and conversation based on the information that you're finding. And you could feed all that information to AI and have an unlimited amount of personalized connectivity with that person. So why wouldn't you use the world's largest professional social network where 38% of people are actually paying to be on the platform, where more millionaires are than any other platform, where people have the mindset of not partying or having fun or putting pictures of your pizza or dancing to the latest meme, but personal development, business, finding jobs, finding new opportunities, thought leadership. That's what people are doing on LinkedIn. So don't you want to be in that conversation? Don't you want to be hanging out with people that, oh, but there's no women. There's a woman that works with registered dietitians. She's like, registered dietitians are on Facebook. That's where they spend their time. I'm like, really? I was like, how do you know they're not on LinkedIn? She's like, because why would they go to LinkedIn? LinkedIn's where you go get a job. I was like, okay, let's search registered dietitian, 107,000 of them in the United States. There's none of them on LinkedIn. You can't do business with 107,000 registered dietitians when you only need 20 a year to work with. And she's like, holy shit, you just opened up Pandora's box for me. She's like, I'm all committed on LinkedIn. I was like, but how do I learn how to use it? I was like, I have a course. It's $10,000, but I'll give it to you on me. No paying. You don't have to pay me for it. Like, what do you mean? Why would you give it for free? I was like, because right now we're running a promotion called the bundle. And if you send the word bundle to 973-841-8868, you get the bundle. And she's like, oh my God, I can just send the word bundle to 973-841-8868 and boom, you just send me that bundle. That's, by the way, not available anywhere else. And she's like, I'm in. And she went, she invested a few $100 and she has unlimited access to EVAI plus a $10,000 course. But that's the idea. The idea is helping people get where they want to go so that they learn how to use the technology and they can get further. We have a community with over 1,000 people and we all support each other. And that's the key. The key is to find people that are like-minded so you can raise your vibration, raise your frequency, and be more supportive.
So, moral of the story is, you guys, if you're not using LinkedIn, I will say that I have been using LinkedIn for a couple weeks now. I've been posting, I've been engaging, I've been messaging people on there.
And cross-pollinate. By the way, Kristen, cross-pollinate. You have 100,000 people that are following you on Instagram. Get 10,000 of them to follow you and connect with you on LinkedIn. Why not? Why not get 1,000 of them? Find out who they are, build a relationship with, write your story and say, hey, listen, guys, I started using LinkedIn. I'm actually really loving it. If maybe a few of you are interested, engage on this poll and tell me if you're interested and see how many of them are even actually interested with a little poll. If you get 1,000 views on your story and you get 50 people that are interested, those are 50 real people. Then you DM them, get them on LinkedIn, build a relationship, get them on the phone, get to know them personally, and maybe 2 or 3 of them will come to your retreat.
No, for sure. I mean, something that else that me and you talked about too is when I first started building my business and I had less than 2,000 followers, whatever, I was building my business through direct messages, literally just through DMs, from making conversations, with having real conversations with people. And then, sometimes they'd be like, wait, do you do sessions? Or 2 months later, 3 months later, they come around and they hire me, whatever it happens. Like sometimes it's not right away, but it was just building relationships. And I was talking to you and you were like, you need to go back to your grassroots. Like you need to go master the basics again. And that's been something that I've been doing is I've been going back and building relationships again because it's crazy. I spent after we talked, I spent a couple days, like 3 days in my DMs, like deep in my DMs, really talking to people, like sending 30 messages a day, just having conversations, not needing them to go anywhere. I literally think I made like $7,000 just from having DM conversations. And then people being like, wait, I actually need help with this. Can you help me? And I'm like, yes, join my course, join my membership, join this. And they join because people like to talk to people. They'll follow you, but when you talk to them, it's like a whole different ball game.
And if you think DMs are powerful, wait till you learn how to just get on the phone with people. Because DMs is like, oh, they're kind of not committed. But when I'm on the phone with you,
For sure.
when I just pick up the phone and call you, and then you're like, oh, I'll call you back or whatever. But I just pick up the phone. Ari even told me, she's like, listen, you're the only one that just basically calls me. Like, like even my parents don't call me. Like people don't call. People forgot to call. But I'm from the 70s. I'm from the time. I'm from the time just on the cusp, like I'm like almost on the 80. I'm like a few weeks before 80. But like I still say, I tell older people, I'm like, listen, I'm from the 70s. I'm from the time where you didn't have caller ID. Meanwhile, I'm like basically an 80 baby. But I am from the time that people didn't have caller ID. I remember my grandfather, I used to call him and I didn't even have to put an area code because I would call him in the same area code and I would just call him and the phone would ring, 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 ring until they picked up. There was no call waiting. There was no caller ID. It was just ringing. And if
Yeah.
they were on the phone, you would just get a busy signal. It's like, F you, we're on the phone. Like, too bad. Try again later. It's and if you put a quarter in, you lose your quarter if it's a busy signal. That's it. And then it was maybe a dime. No, by me it was already quarters. But you get my point.
Yeah.
My point is that picking up the phone is a competitive advantage, but people are afraid of that. It's
Well,
something you have
that's
to
that's
overcome.
also just something with sales too. Like, you will always make more sales if you have sales calls. Like, I'll tell you that straight up from my business. Like, sales calls will always convert more than just DMs or just saying book this or whatever. Like, you will always make more sales with sales calls because people, when you're talking to a real person, it's way more persuasive and they actually feel like they know you and they have a connection with you.
100%. And you know what? A lot of people have told me that have signed up for the bundle. They said the only reason we signed up is because you picked up the phone, called me. I'm ready to go right now. And they put their credit card into the system because I
Wow.
picked up the phone, spend 5 minutes on the phone. It's not even more than 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. I just want to say, hey, I noticed you. I appreciate you. Looking forward to working with you, blah, blah, blah. We have an event tomorrow coming up at 1 p.m. eviai.com/webinar. Please join us. It's free. I'd love to have you there. They're like, no, 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 no. I'm buying the bundle right now. You called me. You don't understand what this means. CEOs of software companies that have 20,000 users in 37 countries around the world are not picking up the phone and calling people. But I pick up the phone and call people because you know what? I really care. I really, really care to make sure that every one of my clients does $100,000 a year plus. And you can see Kristen just started working. She's already making $7,000 just by sneezing. She sneezes and she makes 100,000. Could you imagine what she would do on LinkedIn where people actually have money? That's the key. The key is finding the right people, surrounding yourself with the right people, and taking action. I always say you either have reasons or you have results. You can have all the reasons in the world not to take action, but that doesn't get you results. So I tell people be unreasonable, which means take action even if you have reasons not to take action. Do things that don't make sense. AI can only do things that make sense. Humans, you and I, which is different than AI, you and I can take action even if it doesn't make sense. That means even if you have all the self-limiting beliefs around you that are telling you not to do it, oh, I don't want to sound stupid. I don't want to get rejected. I don't want to, I don't have all the answers. I'm not sure what to sell. Whatever it is, all that noise that you have is just noise. And if it's noise, then just take action anyway. And when you take action, you get results. And when you get results, your belief changes. And when your belief changes, now you're compelled to take even more action. And you're in a vicious cycle of action, results, belief, opportunity, action, results, belief, opportunity, boom, 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 boom. Now you're spinning up to a higher vibration. Whereas if you have reasons not to take action, you won't take action. You'll get a worse belief that it doesn't work because you'll convince yourself, hey, why would I do it if it doesn't even work? Who's even on LinkedIn? It's such a waste of time. Everyone's a loser, blah, blah, blah. Nobody has money. And then before you know, you take less action, less action, less action, more belief of less action, less results, less action, and then you're spinning the other way around, and now you're depressed. So instead of being depressed, get impressed by taking action anyway.
That was a good one, Joe. And Yeah, at the end of the day, I think it all starts with belief. One thing that I noticed about you, I have a note on my phone called like things I've learned from Joe. And one thing that I really learned about you is you are so in love and truly believe in EVAI. I remember you said this one thing. I never said this to you out loud, but I remember you said this one thing. You were like, I need this I need to get more people on EVAI because I need to change more people's lives. Like you were just so sure that if they bought EVAI, their life was going to change. And I say this to my clients all the time. I'm like, you're not going to sell something you don't believe in. You're not going to sell yourself if you don't believe in yourself. You're not going to sell and talk about your work and rave about your stuff if you don't actually believe it's going to help people because subconsciously you don't want them to sign up because you don't think it can help them. And so that's why it really does start in the mind. Like you have to believe in you and then you're going to take action.
And the beauty is you end up getting proof because whatever you believe, your mind, whatever you can believe and whatever mind can conceive, that's the things that you can achieve. So like if you take a moment and you believe something and you really, really believe it with all your heart, what's going to end up happening is you're going to start seeing proof that that's actually true.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's crazy about the thing is you're going to start looking and looking and looking, and then one day you're going to get a message like I just got from John. He said, "Hey Joe, it's John, the only real fractional CFO in Tampa. Just quick, I just wanted to say thanks for how your platform has taken my LinkedIn audience to a level that I could not have done on my own. I made a post last week using your tips, and it went viral." And he said, at least by my standards, 18,000 impressions and 13,000 members reached in 5 days. I thank God for bringing us together. The best $1,000 I've ever invested in my career. By the way, my firm is blown away. He has 100 other people he wants to sign up to it. And he said they have never, capital never, had a post by anyone generate that level of engagement. And Kristen, I have 515 people that have written stuff like that on my LinkedIn as testimonials. So
Wow.
just an idea, 515 people wrote a positive recommendation on my profile on LinkedIn. Go see. It's very rare that people even see this. It's almost like seeing a panda bear in the wild in Brooklyn, New York. It's like you're going there and you're like, wow, I'm going to go check joelinkedin.com. And I did. I bought a domain, joelinkedin.com. Another tip for your viewers. If you buy a domain like kristenlinkedin.com, you could just forward it to your LinkedIn profile. So it's very easy for people to find it. So when you're on a podcast, you just say, go to joelinkedin.com. I actually made it my WhatsApp name. So whenever I WhatsApp someone and they don't know what my name is, they could just see joelinkedin.com. They go there and they find my LinkedIn profile and they find out everything about me. Now, the
Mm.
beauty is with LinkedIn, there's something called caller ID. That means if you look at my profile, I know that you looked at it, which is nice. It's nice to know who looks at your profile. So go to joelinkedin.com and I might notice you.
So, Joe, the last thing I want to talk about is a skill you helped me cultivate that has changed my life. And this is the thing that we talked about on the very first night at the dinner that we met at. And we were in the corner with the cheese, and we went through the steps of how to talk to strangers.
That is an awesome, awesome way to be able to break the ice, a step by step process.
Yes, to be able to talk to anybody at all, no matter what you're doing, no matter where they are, no matter if you're walking by them, if they're sitting at a table. And guys, I just want to also let you guys know when Joe was at Summit, like I didn't even know that was his first summit until like 3 days in because I was like, wait, how do you know everyone? He's like, oh, I just go up to them and talk to them. I would say like, hey, I want to meet that person, like just anyone. And he would just go, he is fearless with networking. Like you are a master networker, truly. And so we were having this conversation about learning how to interrupt people, how to, break the ice, how to talk to someone. And you gave me the step-by-step process that me and Ari still use to this day. And we practiced it at a lot. Sometimes we'll go on a walk and we'll give each other a number. You got to talk to 3 people. You got to talk to 4 people. And to this day, literally this morning, we did it. Like I stopped someone about his dog and we just practiced talking to people in the wild. So give us the process, break it down for us, give us this masterclass in talking to people in the wild.
So, step number one is if you see someone and you want to talk to them, I always ask myself, is my energy okay with this? Like I always check myself, and don't force yourself to go somewhere where your energy's not okay with it. So you kind of have to be in tune with your energy. If you're not in tune with your energy, take a moment, close your eyes, take a few breaths, and you'll get in tune with your energy. Kind of get recentered. But if your energy's okay with it, walk over to anybody and just look at them. And the first thing you're going to do is when you're about to get their attention is realize that they're in their own world. So step number one is you got to make the interruption. So the interruption could be, excuse me, or the interruption could be anything that will get them to just look at you. It could be you're waving at them. So it could be you're tapping them on the shoulder. You're getting their interruption and you're startling them. Now, most people, what they do is they interrupt them with whatever they were going to say, with their observation or with whatever it is that their pickup line is or whatever you're going to say. And that's a big mistake because when you interrupt somebody, they're in middle of thinking somewhere else. So right away, you ask them a question, they probably didn't even hear the question, and then they'll just say, no, no, thank you, and that's it. And now you got the rejection, and you think you got the rejection because the person actually heard you. But the truth is they didn't even hear you. What they just got was startled and totally shocked and in a daze, and they're still thinking the thought that they were thinking before you interrupt them. They haven't even shifted to you yet. So you got to make the interruption. It could be whatever. Excuse me.
Tap.
Hello. Can you see me? Am I here? Are we here today? Or you could say, whoa, or anything. Any noise that you can make, whatever you're comfortable is until they're paying attention to you. Once they're paying attention, you still need a buffer, which means you still need their brain to catch up with the fact that you just interrupted them. So you need a buffer. And it's like, I had to come here over. I had to walk over here. Or I had to stop you. Or how could I not have come here to tell you this?
Or like, what kind of cheese is that? Or like if they're at a table.
But not yet. Not yet. Before you get to what kind of cheese is that, that is the observation or the question or the icebreaker. But before you get to the icebreaker, you need something in between. You need some type of buffer to get them centered to now listening to what you're about to say. Almost it's like you're preparing them to listen to what you're about to say. Because whatever you're going to say is just a bunch of noise, and you don't want to catch them off guard. You want them to be paying attention. You ever hear somebody stop and someone say, listen to me, listen. Could you listen to what I'm saying? Hello. Everyone stop, listen. What are they doing there? That's a buffer. They're creating a buffer. Now, everybody's quiet. Everyone's listening. You have all their attention, and you're like, are you allergic to that cheese? Or, is that the best cheese you've ever had? Or, oh my goodness, what type of cheese is that? Or you can make an observation. I never imagined that they'd have cheese here. I'm just so impressed by the way that you're eating it. You must be a cheese connoisseur. How much experience do you have with cheese? If it's around the cheese, it could be you're in line at the coffee shop and say, do you know what you're going to order? Because I'm not sure what I'm going to order. Or what do you typically get here? Or whatever you want. But that's step number 3 is your icebreaker. So step number 1 is the interruption. Step number 2 is the buffer. Step number 3 is your icebreaker. And whatever they're going to say, you compliment them on whatever they said. Or you comment on whatever they said. So for example, they might say, oh, I'm actually not getting coffee, I'm getting tea. I was like, oh, I definitely can't trust you, depending on how you're going to be. I don't trust people that don't have coffee. What's up with that? Are you like on Lent right now or something? Or you can say something that's out of the box. Comment on whatever they said. Don't just ignore them because that's just rude. So you want to compliment them or comment on whatever they said. And then after that, if you dare, you can put your hand out. If the energy's right, you can put your hand out and say, by the way, my name's Joe. And what they're going to do if they're a decent human being, and most people will shake your hand and say, by the way, my name's Kristen. You wouldn't even ask them for their name. They will automatically give you their name.
Yeah.
That's just how it happens.
Yeah.
Now, if they don't give you their name, they might say, I don't shake hands. And what do you want? And at that point, you'll realize you're in New York. At that point, you realize, oh my God, how did I enter? And then you could even make a joke about that. You're like, how'd you know that I had this disease? And they'd be like, what are you talking about? And you can turn it into a joke. You can play with them. You're like, oh, you're a hugger. You don't shake hands. And then you're like, I'm not ready to hug you yet.
Oh my God.
You can turn it around on them and say, I get it, but I'm not ready to hug. We're not at that stage yet. And then you could just have fun with the energy. You see where it is. And by the way, if they turn you down, it's not rejection. It's redirection. That's the truth. Okay, this bubble of energy doesn't want to play with me. Great. You just saved me a ton of time. Thank you very much, grouchy grouch. I'm not taking responsibility for your low vibration energy. Have a good day. You made it so easy for me to move on to the next person. Be like a bunny and bounce to the next carrot because this carrot is poisonous. You move on. Now, most of the time, people are going to be so scared of your yummy energy that they're just going to comply with whatever you want to do because you're the boss. You're like boss energy. You walk in, the right people will start licking you on the spot. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the right energy. But only about 20% of the time you're going to hit right energy. That's just how life works.
Yeah.
There's the Pareto principle. So, yeah, I guess this is a great place for us to like end. If you guys want to hear this again, please email Kristen so that she could know that you wanted me to come back again, or DM her and let her know this is the best episode you've ever heard in your whole life because she needs to know.
Yes.
Kristen, do you need to know?
I need to know. Let me know what you guys think of Joe.
Please hit her up.
Seriously, hit me up. Get in my DMs.
Is it easy for people to email you?
Yeah, it's super easy. We'll put EVAI below. We'll put all of Joe's LinkedIn and all of his stuff below.
It's your name at yourname.com. It's Kristen at KristenSuch.com. So, like, how hard could it be for people to email you?
No, it's so easy. That's what I'm saying. Like, they will email me. And when people like an episode, they tell me, they send me a DM and they're like, oh my God, that guest was so funny. That guest was cray cray. Joe,
and that's
is
a challenge I have. That's a challenge I have for everyone here. If you usually don't DM Kristen, let this be the first time that you're putting yourself out there because she might open a door for you that will change your life forever. Take a risk, send her a message, even send her a smiley face and say, I'm taking a risk. And by the way, that's one of the ways that you're able to get more comfortable with your discomfort by acknowledging your discomfort. So here's another drop. I just dropped another boom. And let me get a boom in the comments, baby. I want some boom in this room.
Guys, comment on the Spotify or YouTube boom if you like
boom.
this. Boom.
I want some boom in the Zoom.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for dropping all your codes and giving us all the LinkedIn, the networking, the rejection information, the codes. We'll see you on another episode if you're lucky and if we get enough booms.
Hopefully we'll get some boom in the Zoom.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.